welcome back to the world famous, the much renowned, it's coming right into your earbuds. It's the Rage Select podcast right here on Rage Select. And I am Jeff, and I have with me for the first time on the Rage Select podcast. He's a longtime fan of the website. He's been calling, he's been writing, he's been sending me pictures of his balls for years. It's Matt Frank, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo!
Here on the podcast.
Me.
Turn that mic to your face,
Okay,
Matt.
okay.
All right, there
I'm
you
in
go.
There. I'm in
okay.
it. It's all up in my grill.
I don't know how many times I got to say it, but now that I'm looking at you, I'm going to come over there and slap it into your mouth if I have to.
Oh,
But
really? Get that whiskey and tobacco spit right up in there.
Rule number one of Rage Select is don't ever smell the microphones.
Oh,
Just
God,
don't
yes.
do it. Also,
It's
don't
really-
lick them. It's
Ugh.
strangely
Yeah, I've done
salty.
that by accident a couple of times, and it's a bad time. It's a bad time.
You're going to have a bad time.
It is funny how you mentioned about sending pictures of balls.
Yeah.
I very nearly did that back when I was just a listener. I very nearly took Jason Murphy's prompt
You
and
little fuckers.
And actually, even when I started as a regular co-host, I
Yeah.
almost started sending you ball pics to be like, let's see how long it takes for him to figure this out.
Like you're sending it to me from a dump account that doesn't say your name, and you do it like in secret while we're recording, and then we get done, just so you can be here and watch me go, God damn it, who's sending me balls?
just get it like surreptitiously shoving my phone down
Yep.
into my pants.
Yep.
Or that's what I do every time I go to the bathroom is just like
Send me
snap, snap, snap.
Send me a ball buster, huh? Well,
Oh.
yeah. So, folks, this week, Matt and I were not recording videos, and I said, hey, Matt, do you want to come over and record the podcast? And Matt was like, shit, yeah, bro, 420
Yeah.
YOLO. Turn my hat sideways. Scumbag Matt.
All
like,
the roaches and the Mary Jane Watson.
you're going to need to
And-
stop. You need to stop with that. How many times do I have to tell you Spider-Gwen is not Chronic? They're two different things.
Oh, man.
Also, Chronic is not a Spider-Man villain.
My whole life is a lie.
But so we're still going to be sticking with this podcast, even though, strangely, I've seen a big old drop off in the number of people watching the podcast on YouTube. So apparently people don't like an hour-long podcast, but we're going to do it for a little while and see if this is just transition shock. And if it's not, then we'll transfer back over into talking for hours about goddamn nothing.
I actually prefer personally the shorter podcasts because it means that there's less white noise to have to filter through.
Sure.
And sometimes if a podcast is really long, I'll kind of
Zone out.
forget that it's on, or I'll forget that I'll pause it because I'm like, I have to go do something now. But I don't know. I like it, and if you don't like it, you're a fucking communist.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes. I would just say that if you like the new podcast, maybe say something or share it to somebody or do whatever.
Yeah, sound off, people.
Because here's the thing: the podcast doesn't make us any money. We're doing this for you, the people, the people of Gotham. So it's easier for me. But if you guys want to go back to the marathons, I could do that. It's not ideal, but whatever.
Look, give it a shot. But if you don't like it, tell us though.
Yeah, I mean, it's about 50-50, which unfortunately is not helpful when it comes to the internet.
Come on, people.
But in any case, we have already spentulated 3 minutes and 30 seconds talking about goddamn nothing. But it's time to get to the news.
The news.
And the big story this week that I wanted to talk about is the steaming, smelly, fecund shit pile that is Steam. Because last week, Steam announced that they are getting rid of Steam Greenlight this year.
It's fucking crazy. Crazy balls.
And
Crazy pants balls.
They are replacing Steam Greenlight with something that they're calling Steam Direct. Now, this is
the story of a girl.
Good Christ
Cried a
almighty.
river and drowned the whole world.
Okay, so here's the thing. Let's do a recap.
Okay.
Steam started.
It did.
Okay. In the beginning, there was nothing.
In the beginning.
Then there was Steam, and everybody hated it.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a long time. But Steam used to specifically, what do they call that? Curate the things that went on Steam.
Yeah. It used to be this thing where you could be fairly certain that there was something of decent quality on Steam, and you could find it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then Steam went to Greenlight, which was a horrible idea of letting the internet decide what games were going to be on Steam. Which
I have a
led
personal
to
story
things-
regarding this, but we can get to that in a minute.
which led to things like people giving away free copies in exchange for Greenlight upvotes and like shady campaigns and blah, 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 blah. Okay, that didn't work.
No.
So now Steam is going to this new thing, Steam Direct. And Steam Direct is basically like, you sign up with Steam, you get approved. You basically have to fill out like a bunch of stuff to make sure you're legit.
Right.
And then you just publish whatever you want to on Steam at a cost.
Right.
Now, I think that the cost, I apologize if there's been newer developments because I might be working on old information. But the current story says that it'll probably be somewhere between $200 and $5,000 per thing that you want to put on Steam. Now, I don't know about you, Matt, but that's a pretty big gulf because you know what? I could swing $200 for the Rage Select porno game that I'm making.
Absolutely. I'm doing the art for it.
I don't have $5K to put a game up on Steam.
No, I mean, most people, a $5K is kind of a prohibitive amount, which some would argue is good. I mean, you do want a certain, I mean, what this sounds like is they're putting a certain number of gates between the people who are, just want to dump some garbage fire nonsense onto Steam, and the people who are like, I have a game, I've worked on it for years, or I've done it all myself in my garage. I don't have a whole lot of money, but it's legit, and I believe in this, and I believe that there is a certain amount of money to be made off of this.
So here's the problem. This is my problem with this.
Your problem.
My problem with this is that Steam Greenlight was supposed to be that gatekeeper and got abused. At this point, they're basically making, because there also was an application fee to Steam Greenlight of, I believe, $100 to keep people from just spamming it with zero, right?
Yeah.
But $200, while definitely it may be a little bit much for people that are doing just some asset flip bullshit, right?
Of course.
It's still not a huge deterrent. The problem is that you're running into this horrible. What Valve is trying to do is figure out what I consider to be an impossible puzzle, which is what is an amount of money that is reasonable for a small indie developer,
obviously,
but enough to keep a scamster from putting it on there, because the problem is that $500 may be enough to keep your scamsters off, but it also might not be enough for, some schmo with a day job who's is magnum opus an RPG maker and really wants to put it on Steam.
Sure.
That may be too much, and if that's too much, then you're going to be losing that. If it's too high, you're losing indies who are doing this with a fucking shoestring and a prayer, but if it's too low, then you're letting the floodgate open to more garbage, which is a problem that Steam currently has. Just shit.
Would you say that, do you think maybe, and again, this may be trying to square a circle that can't be squared or circled.
Sure.
Do you think maybe the price should be set based on a case-by-case basis?
I think that...
I don't know what algorithm you use for that.
Okay,
but
I personally think, this is where I want to come down on this, is that... this is a thing that you see all the time. There's currently a lot of shit going on over on YouTube that's kind of similar to this.
Yeah.
This is trying to solve a problem with metrics that can't be solved with metrics, because there is no magical sweet spot.
Of course.
Because you got people, you got some scam bro who's made $5,000 on some garbage game they put on Steam with anime boobs on it.
As long as it has boobs, man.
Dude. Next week you guys are going to see it, trust me.
Oh, boy.
But
Rage like porn games.
But there is no sweet spot, because there's people who have enough money to get past that entry fee, and there's also people who don't have enough money who have quality games who are not going to be able to get past that entrance fee. The only way to do this is that you need to go to a professionally curated system. There is no metric around this. There is no amount of tweaking.
You can't automate this.
Right. There is no amount of automation that's going to do this, because what you're talking about is an evaluation of quality. And there's a reason why you still have people listening to video game reviews and reading game reviews. Because if you could just automate, a system that looks at a game and is like, graphics are great, sound is great, 10.10 out of 10.
Does it have Zelda in it? Then it's good.
Right, exactly. There is no way to automate this stuff, the same way there's no way to automate whether or not a film is of good quality or music is of good quality or anything is of good quality, because quality is subjective. And most of us are able to look at a garbage shovelware game and say that's garbage, but there's no way to automate, especially before a game has even come out, knowing whether that's garbage or not. There's games out there that I've played. Look at Undertale, okay? I haven't played through Undertale, but Undertale, everybody loves it, right?
Crazy popular.
Okay, the graphics in Undertale are just dick. Like, I mean, I'm not bad dick, like good dick, like the kind of dick you're looking for on a Friday night, right?
Yeah, you get that good dick.
Right.
Get that good dick right in your mouth.
Right. But a game like VVVVVVV, right, has these like very primitive, like Amiga style graphics. So you can't base it off of graphics. You've got games that are been made in RPG Maker that have thousands of hours of story that may be just total garbage, and so you can't base it off of story. You can't base it off of anything. There's no objective qualification for what makes a good game. You have to have a human put their eyeballs on it and say, this is worth it, or this is not worth it.
I played the human game with my human eyeballs and hands, arms, and just it. Yeah. So
I mean, that's what Greenlight was supposed to do. But then that system got abused because you were it was volunteer-based and not professional. What Valve needs to do is fucking pay somebody to do this shit, or a bunch of somebodies.
There feels like Valve has been kicking the can down the road and not buckling down and putting time and energy into something because, quite frankly, their current business model doesn't preclude them doing that. They're the deep cut nerd shit here. They're the Haim Saban of video gaming, which means they're going to take a Japanese television show, recut it, put a bunch of white people in it, and say, hey, look, we made a TV show, and it's going to make us all the money for the least amount of work and investment possible.
Now, actually...
Am I incorrect in that?
No, well, actually... this is from the Steam blog post. Okay. I just wanted to read you this real
tell
fast.
me this, because I haven't seen this.
What I think this is coming down to is that Steam has decided that they don't want to curate for good games anymore. Because in this blog post, they say... These unforeseen successes, they're talking about Greenlight successes, these unforeseen successes made it abundantly clear that there are many different audiences on Steam, each looking for a different experience. For example, we see some people that sink thousands of hours into one or two games, while others purchase dozens of titles each year and play portions of each. Some customers are really excited about 4X strategy games, while others just buy visual novels. So what Steam has decided to say is that... they want to be able to cater to everybody, so they want as many different games out there to cater to everybody. And if that's the case...
It's a noble endeavor.
That's fine. But if that is the case, then Steam really, really, really needs to allow people to customize, like, their queue. Because... I had somebody who sent me in like fucking pictures like I'm a baby on how to get the VR shit out of my Steam list because I don't have VR, and there's a ton of VR shit in there, and I don't want to look at it. I just want to look at games.
Right.
I did it 4 times, and it never worked. Like, I just kept unchecking show me VR. And, I mean, I even went as far as to, like, ban tags that have VR in them.
Jeez.
And it wouldn't take it out. So the problem...
What kind of shit is that?
Every week, I mean, one of the reasons that you guys might have been seeing more and more PlayStation 4 stuff on Rage Select is because it's so easy to go to the PS4 store, and there's like 6 things every week. And I can go, okay, that's crap, that looks good, maybe that one, and then this one I'm definitely going to play.
Right.
Whereas Steam puts out dozens of games a day. And when I go to look at stuff for Amanda and I to play, it becomes... more and more what I'm doing is, I don't know how familiar you are with the way that Steam works, but now when you go to Steam, the new releases is actually popular new releases. So only games that have hit a certain sales threshold even show up on this new. Now you can click all new releases, but then you get pages of garbage.
I can see where that would be a problem.
And it comes down to a thing that I feel like we all know, which is decision fatigue. Like, I don't want to look through 36 games that came out last week, if not more, to try to find one quality thing to play on my show. And I know that maybe that should be my job, but I just get into this thing where I'm just like, well, this could be all right. And I don't want to go through the process of buying a bunch of them and then refunding the ones that are garbage, which is what this blog post seems to think is the answer, is that you should just buy what you want and then give back what you don't want. And that's just a real messy system.
It sounds to me, I know we don't want to spend too much time on this, but... there's always going to be a measure of human error.
Yes.
And there's always going to be a measure of, well, it's not going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. We shouldn't expect it to be perfect. But, yeah, it needs to be curated, and they don't want to curate it because...
here's the thing. I don't mind if they don't curate it. What I want them to do is give me the tools to customize that front page of Steam.
I think that's
Like,
reasonable.
But like, if you're going to put out everything, then give me the opportunity to say, you know what, I am going to, keep the big featured thing at the top, keep the featured reviewers below that. Which they were like, oh, Steam reviews, that's great. I'm like, no, it's not. But like when I get further down Steam to where the new releases start to happen, give me the ability to make my own tabs. So this tab has action, adventure, and blah, blah, blah. This tab has RPG and sexy. This one has visual novel. This one has 4X. This one has racing. This one has whatever. So that when I go to Steam, I can be like, okay, the things that work best for me, the games that I like the most are action adventure. So let's check that first. Nothing's really there. Okay, well, next up, I like an RPG or two. So like, oh, here's one. But maybe, let's take a look over in 4X. Oh, look, here's give me the ability to weed out the things that I want, the things that I don't want, which unfortunately doesn't work for Steam because they want to throw all that shit in your face, hoping that you'll make an impulse buy of a game.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the last thing that I did want to say in regards to this is I worked on a game a couple of years ago, still technically kind of working on it, called Kaiju Combat.
Yeah.
And the game has run into a lot of problems. We had a lot of delays, and we put it up on Greenlight, in my personal opinion, in an unfinished state.
Mm-hmm.
But we had all this goodwill from the community that it got greenlit.
Yeah.
But currently all that's on there is this, what's essentially a demo with only 4 characters and what I think is kind of an unfinished game. And I don't know, I feel like, again, I do want to see more curation. I'm kind of pushing for curation personally. Now, yeah, the tabs, because if you want like a game that has, even if there's like a giant monsters tab or a kaiju tab,
sure,
that's going to come up. At the same time, though, I don't know. I don't know really where I stand on that. I feel like there needs to be more aggressive curation, and I don't know.
It's hard for me to find games on Steam. That's what it's come down to.
Yeah.
And that's what the frustration is. All of this other stuff is just speculation down to the fact that when I hit all new releases, my eyes glaze over because what I've got when I hit all new releases on Steam is just like a big list. Like we've got, like I'm looking at it right now, and here's new releases, and it's like I've got Z-Appreciation, Tough Days, and The Wardrobe, and Snakes and Ladders, and Soul Searching, and Treehouse Basketball. That's a VR game. Here's Kapoka. Here's Siren. Here's Mutant Fighting Cup 2. Here's Zengeki Warp. Here's The Brave and the Bows. Here's DEF CON in VR. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know DEF CON was in VR. Here's Infos. Right. Here's Space Ripper. And like, how do I know any of these are any good? Because you can almost always find, and then this is all DLC, but if I go to the actual all-new releases, it's like, we are recording this on February 15th, and just to show you what I'm talking about, this whole page is released today.
Jeez, are you serious?
Yeah.
I thought this was stuff like in the last week.
And these 4 out of the next page are also today. That's today.
It needs an aggressive. It needs It needs pruning shears, and I think that the price point is going to be the pruning shears. And but like you said, there's no sweet spot.
28 games.
God.
Today.
That's exhausting.
So far. The day isn't even over yet. We're recording this in the afternoon.
It is exhausting.
So it's hard to find anything because Steam wants you to look at every game. But we've talked about this for way too long, so let's jump on.
Let's move on.
Oh, shit. We're almost out of time.
Oh, God. Okay. Shit.
We might have to go a little bit over on this one.
Yeah. You happy about this?
Yeah.
You fucks?
All right. So next up, I thought this was pretty... I thought this was going to be pretty... this is very specifically a Matt Frank thing. The internet is not happy. The internet's never happy.
No.
Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is going to have DLC. It's going to have a season pass. It's $19.99. It's going to have 2 releases. One in the fall?
I think one is like a couple of new, like a new outfit and new dungeons.
Okay,
or something.
so the first one is for summer. Includes the Cave of Trials, a hard mode, and a new feature for the in-game map. I don't know what that means. The second one is for holiday season. It contains challenges, a new dungeon, and quote a new original storyline.
Okay.
Now I think that there's 2 things to talk about here. One is that the hard mode. People are wondering whether this means that the game doesn't have a hard mode by default.
That's odd.
And if it doesn't, that seems like a very strange thing to pull out and put into DLC. Like maybe an Iron Man mode or an extreme difficulty mode, right?
New Game Plus, essentially, or Master Quest. That's what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
But if that has been pulled out of the game, is going to be sold to you separately, that's a little weird. Second, I feel like there's a lot of people who are just like, I mean, it's been a long time since the Zelda game's been out, but so far, Zelda has been a game where you buy the game and you get everything with the game, right? You don't, when you bought Twilight Princess, I mean, that was before really DLC as much DLC, but I guess Hyrule Warriors had it, but we don't really count that as like a core Zelda game.
Well, Hyrule Warriors does DLC right. They're very I really like the way they do DLC, because the DLC it's already not a terribly robust game, and you can kind of burn through it pretty quick. And the DLC, well, see, that's another thing that I didn't want to derail you what you were saying. It's just, as a Zelda fan, I saw a DLC and my first reaction was, oh, neat, more Zelda stuff. But then the more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, okay, tell me what the internet is mad about, first of all.
Well, I think it's just that this is going to be the first time that you're seeing a Zelda game with DLC.
Okay.
That I think that's kind of what it is, because Zelda is, I feel like, I'm not necessarily surprised by this, but at all. It doesn't really mean all that much to me. I think that it's just, we live in an era where every fucking thing has DLC.
Right.
So it's not exactly, to me, a surprise that Zelda's getting DLC, because everything has DLC.
Sure.
If the last Zelda game had come out 2 years ago, it would have had DLCs. The Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
Didn't, but then that wasn't, the Wii didn't really do DLC all that well.
I don't think they.
But the Wii U has had plenty of DLC for different games. But I think that I think that a lot of it is just that people are expecting to go buy the new Zelda game and to get the entirety of that Zelda game and not to have to come back to it later on. So.
The thing that the red flag that raises for me when I see an original story concerns me that, so one of the things about Zelda, now speaking as a Zelda fan, Zelda games have a beginning, they have a middle, and they have an end.
Yeah.
They are a quest that begins and they are a quest that ends. And they very often have a measure of bittersweet tragedy to their endings that makes them stick with you. Twilight Princess has an ending where you're like, oh fuck, oh fuck. Majora's Mask even is kind of like, yeah, I fixed everything, everybody's happy now, bye. I can't join you in your happiness because I'm Link and I'm forever destined to just wander the earth and solve people's problems.
Sure, like Kane from Kung Fu.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Or Knight Rider. I mean,
there you go. Yeah, sure. Airwolf. Airwolf had a tragic ending, right?
Airwolf didn't wander the land. Airwolf was in that cave. It was in that cave.
Oh my God, that fucking show. Anyway, my point is that it concerns me that they're taking a little too much from Skyrim, which is this perpetual, like, you can go for Skyrim forever. You can defeat the final boss of Skyrim, you can defeat Alduin the World Eater, and you can just keep fucking going forever.
Yeah.
There's 1,000 things you probably haven't done yet. That's not what a Zelda... Unless it's like... Unless the DLC is something like, okay, this takes place 100 years before Link wakes up, and you're playing as a Sheikah warrior wandering the Gerudo Desert or something, and it's completely different. It's a completely new set of circumstances. That's one thing. They're not going to do that because they're going to want to use all the same art assets. So it's probably going to be Link going and doing something else, which to me concerns me that the game's not going to have an ending.
Maybe. I don't know. When you look at this, it seems like there's only one of these bullet points that is actual story, because the first one is listed as Cave of Trials Challenge, like some kind of
that's just BS.
Hard mode, and then I don't even know what a new feature for the in-game map. I don't even what the fuck. Then the second
it's
says
also kind of anemic for DLC.
Challenges, a new dungeon, and a new original story. Well, it's also cheap. Is $20.
$20.
That's pretty cheap
pretty
for a DLC.
Pretty good.
But I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, it's a Zelda game. It's a foregone conclusion that it's at least going to be competent. I mean, as much as I didn't like Skyward Sword, I will at least say Skyward Sword was competent.
Yeah.
It wasn't a terrible game. So we know it's going to be competent, and we know it's going to sell like fucking gangbusters. So announcing, I'm always kind of iffy whenever they announce DLC before the game's even out.
Right. Well, the other thing that I didn't actually talk about is that this is
Granted,
actually
only a few weeks out, but
also not going to be sold individually. You must buy the season pass to get all of the DLC, which means that's problematic in my opinion as well, because not all DLC is great. And if you want to skip one and buy the other for a cheaper price, whatever.
It seems to me that it's DLC that is... It's... Fuck, where was I going with this?
I don't know, Matt.
Shit, I had something for this. It's forget it. Never mind.
Okay.
Because I had something for this, and it was something about how like it's kind of anemic DLC anyway, which raises the question of why it wouldn't be in the final release, but whatever. Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is.
All right, tell us, Matt.
It seems to be that most people are mad about it on principle rather than the actual content or price point, because the price point is reasonable and the content is kind of whatever, except for whatever this original story is going to be.
Yeah.
Therefore, it seems to me like it's more that people are worried it's setting a bad precedent.
Well, that precedent's already been set.
Right.
If you don't want there to be DLC, guess what? Step one, stop buying DLC no matter how good it looks.
Yup.
So, all right, let's move it along. All right, let's talk a little bit about our favorite YouTuber,
PewDiePie!
I don't really watch PewDiePie, but
Nope.
apparently there was a little bit of a dust-up this week when Disney dropped, I don't even know all the ins and outs of this.
I've read a little bit about it.
Basically, PewDiePie had some kind of show that was being sponsored by Disney.
Disney owns Maker Studios,
Okay.
and Maker Studios were the people who were PewDiePie's sponsors or employers or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they have dropped him due to videos with anti-Semitic content in them.
As I understand it, he was paying these... This is kind of fucked up. He was paying these guys, and I think they're in India or something. I could be talking completely out of my ass here. He's paying these guys like $5, which I saw the quote somewhere that these guys will do anything for $5.
Yeah.
Which is fucked up if these are poor guys in maybe not a third world nation, but in an economically depressed area, and he would pay them to go push the envelope. You know, that old troll chestnut of pushing the envelope, to hold up signs that say "Kill all Jews" and see what kind of dust up you can make. How many cages can you rattle? And that is so fucking problematic that I don't even know where to start.
I don't know that I have a lot to say about this, because this gets into an area that I try to kind of stay away from on Rage Select, which is that there are going to be people out there who are going to be like, oh, look at the snowflakes who are upset. This was obviously a joke. And there's going to be people who are like, the Daily Stormer, this very much alt-right, group, this, white nationalist group.
Nazis!
Is like, we fucking love PewDiePie because of these things. So I don't really know where to sit here outside of there's a point where you push the envelope so far that if there's backlash, you're just going to have to live with it.
Right.
And that's up to every entertainer and their audience to gauge. If Disney was sponsoring Rage Select, we probably would have... No, I don't even think we don't pay people to write anti-Semitic shit and dance around, right? Like,
yeah, no shit.
But you got to kind of, that's the sort of thing. Like, okay, if you're running your own independent channel and you don't give a fuck, and you don't give no fucks,
right?
Then you do whatever the fuck you want to. But when you enter into agreement with somebody else, especially when it's a company like Disney, even if it's through a middleman, you got to know that, like, if you push too hard, it's like, if they picked you, Matt, as the new host for the Late Show, right? You're not going to come out and be like, look at my ass, I'm throwing shit at the crowd. Woo!
You're going to swing my ball.
Right, like you're gonna know that there's that the people that are paying the bills,
right?
And this is a problem that's been around forever, right? Mm-hmm. Is the idea of artistic integrity versus you got to keep the paymasters happy, right?
Yeah.
And they're almost always, and I don't mean this in a political way, I mean this in like a sociological way, they're almost always more conservative business people who don't want you out there paying people to say, kill all Jews, right?
I mean,
just So there's a certain amount of personal responsibility that has to come with this. And I understand the argument for artistic integrity, which is fine as long as you're not beholden to somebody else. Once somebody else is writing the checks, then they necessarily are going to have an influence on what you're doing.
Right. You can't. I mean, we could talk forever about this, and I know I have some very strong opinions about this, but I know we don't want to go too long on it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get too deep into my personal opinions on this because, again, like you just said, it's a question of personal responsibility. What you think is appropriate and what you think is inappropriate. Now, I could go on and on about how I don't think it came from a place of malice, but I think it is extremely ignorant of him to think that there wasn't going to be some kind of backlash. In the way, I read a couple of his statements, and he had some form of contrition, but it's like, how did you know this wasn't going to blow up in your face?
To be honest, if you want to give the guy the best benefit of the doubt, what you could say is this, that he probably had this show, and I even watched a couple of his videos where he seems like he's really fucking burned out with just a cycle of doing videos all the time.
Yeah.
So he's doing his own thing. He's got his sense of humor. He's not from America, which I think is something that you got to
factor in that he's like Swedish or something, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He probably was doing his own thing. He probably got this deal with Maker Studio because they're like, motherfucker, you're the most subscribed channel on all of YouTube, fucking, you know what? And then he probably just didn't do anything different. He probably that this never occurred to him because he's like, fuck it, man. I mean, the guy's already got enough money that he doesn't ever need to work again, right?
Yeah.
Like, you just fucking retire tomorrow, delete his channel and whatever. But that he probably just never took it into consideration and just continued to do. I mean, you know, if you go to fucking 4chan and you look on certain places on 4chan, you will find people that find hilarity in things that you find disgusting and awful.
Yeah.
And there's a line, you know, like some people, here's a perfect example, South Park.
Of course.
My sister finds South Park deplorable and unpleasant. I find
my
South
wife
Park
feels the same way.
Hilarious because they do push envelopes, and sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes it does, and sometimes it's really funny. Like, I like the PC Principal arc on there, even though I'm not.
Tell somebody just use a microaggression,
right? Even though I'm not out here being like, snowflakes, safe spaces, it's not even that. But I can still watch that and think that it's funny. But some people don't think it's funny, and so that line is just this thing we've had forever about. Where is it too far? And in today's day and age, when everybody has an outlet to express an opinion, you've got a problem with, well, let's say that you did go too far for 30,000 people over here that are part of this group that don't appreciate that joke you make. But then there's also 30,000 people over here who fucking love that joke and want you to make it again. And you're just like,
I mean, it's so funny. I was having a very similar conversation with a guy who cut my hair yesterday. And
was it an old man? Was it an old barber?
No.
So, Mr. Frank, what you been up to recently?
Well, let me talk to you about gender politics and comedy and racial politics. No, we were just talking about South Park. We were talking about comedians, talking about guys like George Carlin and making off-color blue humor. And he actually knows a lot about comedy so we were able to talk on that level. And something that occurred to me, and this is being really nitpicky about the nature of comedy and how I think that if you're going to make off-color, super inappropriate jokes, there needs to be a level where you acknowledge how fucked up it is that you can say this. Or what you're saying. I don't know. Again, comedy is subjective. Comedy is super fucking subjective, and we're going to be here all day about it.
Yeah, here's what I'm going to come down to. Here's the thing that I've come down to with I don't like to get in too far into these spaces because everybody's got a very strong opinion about a lot of these things.
Of course.
The problem, to my mind, to wit, this is the issue that we're looking at. And
Quote erat demonstrandum.
It's an issue that expands far outside of PewDiePie in this one particular thing. If you wanted to, you and I could probably do a politics podcast.
We could probably do an entire episode about this.
Forever. Is that all entertainment
and not just entertainment, not just what makes you happy, but what makes you mad and what makes you offended and what makes you whatever, is incredibly subjective to the individual listening. There is no universal bar for these jokes are fine and these jokes are offensive.
Right.
And then you say, well, these jokes are offensive, and then you get close to that offensive bar. Well, are those jokes are they too offensive? Well, I think they're too offensive. Well, I think they're funny. Well, I don't know what I think. Well, I don't know. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not. But the problem is that that PewDiePie doesn't do a show for one person. He does a show for basically all people. So there's going to necessarily always be, there's people who don't fucking like Rage Select. There's people who have left Rage Select. People who don't fucking like me. Ever since Spill, when I've been doing this shit, there's people who are just like, they don't like me. There were people on there who used to just listen to me talk, and they would wait for any time I said something wrong, and they would jump in with, Jeff, you stupid idiot, blah, 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 blah. Because, and they never would do that with Corey or with Jason or with Kevin or with Nick. If, Kevin said something wrong, they were only after me, and I could never figure out why, but it's because everybody's different, and everybody's got a level of what makes them angry, and the problem is that there is no universal demarcation for, especially now, especially with how divided things are, there's going to be comedy that some people think is the funniest thing they've ever heard, and then there's going to be another set of people who think it is literally the most deplorable thing that's ever been created. So,
I mean, yeah, I right now think, and we're moving on, but I just think that right now that I personally felt that I don't agree with what he did. I thought that it was over my line.
Yeah.
But I also don't know the whole story, and I could find out some information that could make me think, okay, I get what he was going for. Probably also still a bad idea to have guys just on the side of the road with a sign that says, kill all Jews.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, I also don't want. I want to make sure before we end this conversation that I don't want my potential explanations of him to come off as condoning, because I don't. But then I also haven't watched the videos, and
we don't know all the information.
I'm loath to go. Here's the thing. I think that's shitty. I think that's offensive. I don't think that you should do that. Right.
Right. That's fine.
But on the other hand, I think it's very important to try to understand why.
The context. That's what George Carlin said, people.
Right.
Context.
So that's the only reason that I wanted to talk about this in this context, was to try to at least say, I think I can understand why he's doing this. It's still a bad idea.
Right.
But it's worth knowing that whole circle of information instead of just reading a headline, PewDiePie's a racist, and you're just like, yeah, fuck that guy,
Yeah, it's what people who read Breitbart do.
Anyway, let's not go down that road too far.
A lot of hot-bloodedness in this podcast.
Let's finish up with 3 more stories real fast, maybe 2. So in a recent interview with PC Gamer, producer Fabrice Condoleezza Rice,
all right,
said that BioWare is taking a look at the side quests in Mass Effect Andromeda.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to take a page from... Did you play Dragon Age Inquisition?
I played a big chunk of it.
Yeah.
I haven't beaten it. I'm enjoying it, but Morgan has played it 300 hours of it.
Okay, so you know all the bullshit on every map of collect
There's
12
a lot
of these
of
and blah,
stuff.
blah, blah. They've decided that they're going to try to cut that back.
Oh, thank God.
And instead make more meaningful
I don't even think I've gotten out of the
quests,
stupid Hinterlands yet.
a la The Witcher 3, which is great news. Because one of the problems that I've had with the current console generation has been with the increase in power. I felt a lot of times developers do garbage like, oh, well, now we can make a map that's 3 times as big and we can put 4 times as many collectibles in it. It's just like,
yay!
Fuck off, motherfucker. Use this power to tell meaningful stories and not just to do that. So,
which is, I'm looking at you, Breath of the Wild. Don't just give me a map the size of Russia and then have it filled with, more gold Skulltulas.
Yeah. So that's good news for me, because I think that I was afraid Dragon Age Inquisition kind of wore me down, and I didn't really...
That's one of the reasons why I haven't gone back to it, is because it's just exhausting.
Yeah. Before we finish up here, there was a new trailer out for Injustice 2.
Yeah.
It was a trailer called Here Come the Girls.
That's weird, but okay.
In which they announced...
How you doing, sweetheart?
Black Canary Poison Ivy, Catwoman, and
Chitara. Cheetah. She's just Cheetah. Yeah.
I thought it was
Chitara should be,
I thought it was Tigress or whatever. But
I think it's supposed to be. I as a side note,
yeah.
I just saw him in the trailer. Swamp Thing.
Yeah, fucking Swamp Thing shouldn't be in a fighting game. His best stories are about delving the depths of his inner ennui.
Dude,
right?
did you see him sprout flowery angel wings? That shit's amazing.
No. Also, I think that it's funny you say that because Poison Ivy in this trailer, I can't think of somebody who looks more weird, like punching and kicking and jumping up in the air.
Yeah, that's not her power set. It's so. I mean, the Injustice games are ridiculous, and I sort of like that they embrace this ridiculousness. But there goes Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
it's I like the first game, and this looks like it'd be fun. The thing is, though, I see Blue Beetle popping up, and I can't help but think, man, did they get the idea for Blue Beetle from the Guyver, from Bio Booster Armor Guyver? Because that's all I can think of. Well, Poison Ivy does have a giant Audrey, too. I like that.
Yeah, but it's not going to be using direct vocal quotes from the movie, which is... I wanted to come, feed me, Ivy, feed me now.
Fucking missed opportunity. That's all I have to say.
But yeah, this looks pretty cool. I mean, the Injustice 2 looks good. I want to play it.
I have to say, since it's Warner Brothers games, you know what they need to make?
What's that?
Is I want to see this fighting engine, but for Godzilla. I want to see a Godzilla fighting game
there it is,
where you
folks.
break stuff.
40 minutes, and we finally got to Matt talking about Godzilla.
Maybe next podcast I'll keep a lid on it.
Last but not least, Microsoft is changing it up this year. They announced that they're having their E3 2017 briefing on Sunday, June 11th. Now, traditionally,
a little weird.
Yeah, traditionally the way that the briefing structure has gone has been. So Bethesda and the PC games have started to slot in on Sunday.
Okay, yeah.
And then on Monday, we usually have Microsoft and then Sony. And then in between, we have usually Ubisoft and EA.
Okay.
And then on Tuesday, which is the first day of the show, in the morning before they open the doors, we used to have Nintendo, but Nintendo isn't doing
they're
that
like,
anymore.
fuck you.
Right. But this throws the whole thing into question. Where is this going to go? Is the PC show going to move? Are they? Where's the Bethesda show? Is it going to go Bethesda? Is it going to go Microsoft and then Bethesda? Because traditionally Microsoft tends to be more in the morning and Bethesda tends to do in the evening. So we're going to go Microsoft, Bethesda, and then on day 2, is it going to be like Ubisoft and EA? Because it's kind of cool for Ubisoft or EA to be able to be front and center. Usually it's EA first. So for them to be able to have the first slot, because a lot of people don't know this, and I don't know how many people actually know this. E3 traditionally starts on Tuesday, not Monday. Monday, they have the conferences, but they don't actually have the show floor doesn't open until like 10 on Tuesday, and then it goes from like 8 until 6 on Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah, it's kind of a week-long thing, but not quite a week-long.
Actually, it's not. It's like 3 days because it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But the thing is that the conferences have backed up so that the conferences start on Sunday now, Monday, and then Tuesday, but the doors don't open until Tuesday. So
okay.
There are presentations and live shows and things all going on days when the E3 show floor is not even open yet.
Okay, so you're saying that Microsoft is going to go on Sunday, and they usually go when?
Monday. Usually on Monday, Monday's the big conference day because it's Microsoft, EA, Ubisoft, and then Sony finishes out in the evening.
And the concern is going to be how this is going to affect
Bethesda and PC because they've been going on. Well, I don't know. PC, I think they might have slotted into one of the other slots last year. I don't remember, but Bethesda started their thing on Sunday, so they're really just juggling it up. I don't know why they pushed back because. I mean, they were before Sony anyway, so it's not like. Well, I mean, if that was your concern, it's possible. I don't know. It's possible because if they go before Bethesda, then Bethesda gets the last word. If they go after Bethesda,
yeah, that's a fair point.
So I don't know. It's just a little strange.
It's a little odd. I guess.
No, I'm sorry. It's 2 p.m. 2 p.m.
Okay.
So they're going to be going before Bethesda. It'll probably be them for an hour or two, and then later on in the evening, it'll be Bethesda for an hour.
It's just
or
so
two,
it's just so funny to me how for like several years in a row,
yeah.
every time there's a new E3, everyone says this is the worst E3 ever, and this is going to be the last E3.
This year is going to be very interesting because the thing is that we've spent the last 2-3 years getting a lot of like HD remakes and sequels and final sequels and things that were in development, like The Last Guardian or Final Fantasy 15. We've seen Metal Gear. We've seen Souls come to an end.
Yeah.
There really is a very pregnant pause because Nintendo's got the Switch coming up, and there's a possibility of a lot of software announcements for that. Xbox has the Scorpio that's still a year out, but they are in a weird position where with Scalebound canceled, they're going to need to show stuff like Crackdown because Halo Wars 2 comes out next week.
So fucking sad that Scalebound got canceled.
I
don't even have an Xbox, and it's just I want my giant pet dragon game.
No, I understand. So I feel like Microsoft has a lot of possibility to step up. If they can, if they've got a lineup, it would be a great time for them to roll that shit out because Sony almost certainly is going to have some Death Stranding stuff going on there. It's possible that they, Bloodborne was a PS4 exclusive. The next From Software game might be debuted there. You still have that David Cage game, Detroit 2 Human.
I bet you there's going to be a lot about Final Fantasy VII.
Final Fantasy 7H,
I bet they're going to bring
remaster.
that up. Yeah,
maybe. But even there, and then we've also got the stuff from last year, like the motorcycle. What was it called? Like Last Light or Last Days or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That we haven't really heard much about. But like Horizon Zero Dawn comes out next month,
right.
so they can't pimp that out.
Yeah,
you're actually going to have the possibility for a lot of new stuff to be coming out from all of the people. Even in Nintendo's got a new platform. Xbox's slate is very clean, and they need to put stuff out.
I was gonna say they never really. Maybe I'm wrong because I'm just not that plugged into Xbox, but they never really seemed like they recovered from that big E3 debacle. I mean, they roll back all this stuff for the first Xbox. They said, no, okay, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, we're not going to do this. They've abandoned the Kinect, which thank God.
Right.
But but they haven't really replaced it with anything.
Well, they have. It's just a lot of those things. So on the Microsoft side, Halo 5 came out. Gears is out.
Right.
Halo Wars 2 will be out by the time that E3 happens. Killer Instinct is on like season 3 or whatever.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Killer Instinct.
Scalebound is canceled. Phantom Dust got canceled / moved back to an HD re-release. So Crackdown is definitely still on their list. And outside of that, you've got the thing is that this will be a perfect opportunity for them to come out and just be like, check out all this new shit, yo. Buy an Xbox One. What up? Which I hope they do. I really do. Like, I know that a lot of people, we spend a lot of time on the PS4 on the show, but it's only because the PS4 releases dumb shit for me to play. Like, the PS4 so far has had more like Tales of Berseria or fucking Yakuza 0 or Kingdom Hearts, right? Like, a lot of this stuff comes out on the PS4, and if the Xbox One had a similar slate of things that were coming out for them, I would totally plug in my Xbox One and stop using it to
just
store
kind of sitting over there, huh?
stuff.
Yeah.
But as it is, the stuff that's coming out tends to be either PC or PS4. So I want Xbox. I want them to come out of the gate and make people excited because that's how you get Sony to get really competitive with pricing and offers and deals and things like that, is that they have to outperform Microsoft.
More competition is good, people.
Yep. With that, we are already, oh my God, we have gone an hour.
Oh, we're super over.
Yep, fucked it up. Fucked it up this week. Sorry, everybody. Too much talking about
Oh my God.
Steam.
Too much content for your face.
Oh, it's too much content. But anyway, we're going to be back in just a minute with more. Stick around, and we'll be back. And we're back.
Oh my God.
It's time for questions. Matt, are you ready for questions?
I am so ready.
Mail@rageslide.com is the email address to sending your questions. Our first question this week comes in from Steven, who says,
Hi, Steven.
hello, Jeff and Matt. Are you guys taking podcast questions? We are.
Yeah.
I've heard you guys talk about how squishing and squashing sprites is lazy animation. I watched your Let's Plays of Rise and Shine. Looks like a fun game, but I couldn't really tell if they had perpetuated this animation crime. I was also playing the Fire Emblem mobile game, and they fully animate their capes, but I think they squash the characters themselves. Could you check these games and give a few examples of those who do it right and those who do it wrong? Sincerely, Steven. And then he says PS, and he tells me something that's fucked up on the website. So,
Okay.
thank you, Steven. I can't fix that.
As you do.
Okay, so do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, squishing and squashing, I know is an animation term, but that's just where you take a character model, say if
Yes.
it's Flash animator or Sprite animator or whatever,
Yeah.
and you squish it. You basically you create an illusion of movement by just changing the size of
Yes.
the object.
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
There's also another concept that I'll talk about called puppet animation, which
Okay.
you see an awful lot out there, which is where you take a character from, say, like a 3/4 front, right? And you take the arms and you take the legs and you take like the pelvis and the head and stuff, and they're all separated so that like let's say that you're squashing your character up and down to make them look like they're breathing, but then you also, when they go down, you just move their arms out a little bit, and then when they move up, they go back in, right? So you make it look a little bit better. You make it look a little bit. Okay, so the reason, Stephen, that I don't necessarily like this animation is because I took animation for 5 years.
Yep.
And this is cheap. It's it's not intrinsically bad, and I know a lot of people who don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about right now. Where if you go and you look up a video of, let's say, the let me go to YouTube and see if I can't find something that is indicative of it. But see, here's the thing: is that traditional animation, the way that you would do that is you would animate, like if you were having a character that was breathing. When they took a breath, you would actually redraw the torso every time because their torso is expanding and contracting. You have a little bit more of that looks a little bit more natural because that's what people look like. Most people don't squish down and then pop back up and squish down and pop back up.
Right.
It's a shorthand, and the only reason that I tend to get a little salty about it is because I've done it. I know how to do it. I've done it before, and it's less, and it's a shorthand. It's a way to get away with animation when you don't necessarily want to do full animation. I'm having a hard time finding anything here, but
in my experience, now I've never animated before, but in the conversations that you and I have had, and the videos I've watched online, the conversations I've had with other animators,
yeah,
animation is not that dissimilar to making comics in that there's a lot of shorthands and shortcuts and artistic sleight of hands that you may have to utilize, and it's true in all forms of art.
yeah.
The question is, you have to, not necessarily have to, but the art in that lies in you being able to not make it obvious and kind of making sure your shorthand doesn't come across too much as a shorthand.
Right.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'll copy paste stuff in my comics all the time, or I'll outsource, like say I've penciled a city block and I don't want to have to go through and ink this entire city block because I have to have this page done in the next 5 hours.
Right.
So I'll outsource the inking to another artist, to my inker, who will do it for me, and it may not even stylistically resemble what my inks usually look like. But ultimately, it's a question of how much are you willing to compromise in order to just get the product done.
So you can see the squashing? I pulled up.
Let me get closer.
Fire Emblem Heroes. This is what we're talking about here. I'll pull this back just a little bit. You see the way that like they just kind of move, and it's like in a cycle where they're moving, but they're not really animated. They're just kind of digitally manipulating like a few different places on them.
Yeah, it's creating the illusion of movement and animation without actually redrawing or really animating anything.
Right, which is in some cases is fine, but where it really upsets me, and the reason that this may come up as a question, the place where it upsets me is when people do it with pixel art, because the thing is that pixel art should be redrawn for every frame.
Right.
And you can do stuff like if you go look at what was the one I was thinking of, like Sword and Sorcery. There's some idle animations and stuff in there that you can see that is not squashing. And the reason that it doesn't work for me in pixel animation is because pixel animation is based on having a limited number of pixels for your screen density, so you can't take a pixel and squish it. That square should always be a square. It should never be a rectangle, which is what happens when you squish it down. That's why, because for me, that then breaks the illusion of looking at looking at pixel animation. And to me, that's a little bit lazy. So we just played a game called Uncanny Valley on the dojo, and that's a great example of non-squash, non-stretch pixel animation.
Interesting.
Also, for I think when Fire Emblem Heroes came out, and I was kind of being a little crappy about it, it's because this is a game by a big developer. This is a game by somebody who could put work into animating those little sprites. So,
and it just feels like you guys don't have to do that if you have money to be putting towards it.
Right. With for something like Rise and Shine, so then the trap and the reason that it's kind of that it becomes to me it becomes a little bit offensive is that when you do that, a lot of times what you end up doing is you don't end up doing, this is getting kind of technical about animation, is you only end up animating a 3/4 front view. You never end up making a front view or a 3/4 back or any of that stuff, which means that your characters are almost always trapped in the exact same viewpoint, which means that their animation becomes less dynamic.
Okay.
Right? Because they're not turning. When you're playing a game and you turn from one side to the other,
it
just
flips
around.
Yeah.
Which I actually have. I'm always impressed when a developer, I think Super Metroid does this, where when Samus turns, she has a different sprite for looking at it from the right side and the left side.
Yeah, that's cool.
Whereas sometimes the developer will just literally reverse it.
Right.
And it's like, well, wait a minute, the gun was in the other hand, and now it's just, I don't know. It's just,
yeah.
I like it when people put work into their craft, and that, I know that's a shortcut, and a lot of people don't have the budget to get around that shortcut.
Of course.
But as an animator, it sticks out to me.
Yeah. And this is all nitpicky artist bullshit.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. All right, our next question comes in from Julio, and Julio says, "Hey, Jeff and Matt."
Woo.
So after the Final Fantasy 30th anniversary opening event, a Japan exclusive live stream,
a long question.
It was as well. Okay, this is phrased in a really weird way. It was. I'm just going to edit this a little bit. It was massively disappointing.
Aww.
Aside from the release date of Final Fantasy 12 HD, nothing happened, and no news of the 7 remake after 2 years. You expect something new from this big game with the release of Kingdom Hearts 2.8. I ask you, how long is too much of a wait? The last full Kingdom Hearts game on a real console was back in 2006, and with the 7 remake rumored to be still developing even after this console generation, how long is too much for you two? Do you think Square should take their time and possibly create an amazing game, or do you think they should be less ambitious and focus on a realistic release window? Thanks for answering my question, Julio. And then he provides a link to a video about Square's development issues.
Right.
So, I don't know, Matt, what do you think?
Well, this is something I think we're going to be arguing about in our various fandoms till the end of goddamn time.
Sure.
Because ultimately, you're still going to buy it when it comes out. And it's ultimately just, I think, just right off the top of my head, there could be more information that could change my opinion on this, but it feels like when you have a project you're working on, regardless of whether or not it's a game, there's kind of nothing you can really do about it other than to vote with your wallet. But if you're going to buy it anyway when it comes out, it just doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of incentive for... backtracking a little bit.
Okay.
This seems to be a largely a particular problem with Square.
Yeah.
Because their stuff takes so long to come out, which wouldn't be a problem except... Okay. I'm sorry. I'm all over the map on this.
Okay. Rein it in, Matt.
When he says in his question, Julio, thank you for your question, by the way. When he says in his question, how long is too long of a wait? What's the consequence of that? Are you saying, or if they go past a certain point, are you not going to buy their game? Or what?
No, that's valid.
Yeah.
Also, it comes back to another question of, would you rather get a half-baked game in 2 years, or would you rather wait 5 years for the game that you wanted?
Right.
Because I have this thing that I've been up on my fucking high horse. I feel like Final Fantasy 15 that somebody walked into Final Fantasy 15 and was just like, stop what you're doing, put it together, and release it. Whatever you've got is enough. Put out whatever you've got. We'll release the rest as free DLC or paid DLC later. Just fucking put it together,
Right.
get it into cert, and put it out. Because there's been all these things that have been tacked on to that. And the question of the Legend of Zelda. Would you wait another 6 months for Legend of Zelda if it meant that the DLC was included with it? If it was, I see. It's weird because for me, I'm used to this. I'm used to waiting,
Right.
and especially the question about Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 7. I got something to say about both of those.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 7, Square never should have done that stupid PS3. Was it PS3 or was it PS4 tech demo where they?
It
had
was a
the
PS3 tech
train
demo.
and then
they were just like,
yeah.
look at our graphics.
Right. And then they spent years saying, this is not a thing. Like every time they were asked, they said, this is not a thing. We're not working on it. And it wasn't until I feel like they were working on it that they finally said, this is a thing. The same of Kingdom Hearts 3 is that people, Julio here says, the last Kingdom Hearts game came out in 2006. Where the fuck is my next Kingdom Hearts game? It's like, well, they probably haven't been working on it. It's not like they started development on Kingdom Hearts 3 as soon as 2 finished. It's like, well, we got all these Final Fantasy games. We want to do this thing. We want to do this thing. We want to, we're changing as a company. Now is Dragon Quest, blah, blah, blah.
That is staggering.
Right. Like, so the thing is that I don't feel like Square has been working on Kingdom Hearts 3 since 2006 and just refused to say anything about it. It more comes to the expectation that we have where you're just like, that was great. When's the next one coming out? And it's just like, well, we're going to take like 2 years off, and then we're going to spend 5 years making another game, and then we're going to spend 4 years making this game. We also have like 6 different game divisions, and then maybe eventually we'll get back to Kingdom Hearts. But in the meantime, we're going to make a bunch of shitty Vita and 3DS games for you. Suck at Kingdom Hearts.
You're still going to buy it.
I'm just kidding.
I think that it's just as a quick thing. I think that there also is a question to be asked of how of having realistic goals for your game to put it out, because 10 years is a long goddamn time to be working on Final Fantasy 15. And again, it's more a question of how much do you want to abuse your audience? Because okay, then you,
but do you even think that's abuse?
I guess not. I mean,
like the only crime I can see that they committed was telling you that a thing existed. Right?
Yeah.
Because that's all they did was say, we're making a game. And to be honest, gamers want that. Like, we say we want to know about things. Like, we want to know news. We like news about announcements and things that are being worked on and teaser trailers and blah, 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 blah. But then you get pissed off when there's a teaser trailer and they're like, all right, we'll see you in 5 years. And you're like, whoa. Yeah.
Like racial humor, it's
goodness.
about context.
Oh, my goodness.
And no, I'm just, because you compare that to the news about, what's that JRPG that was supposed to come out yesterday, or it was supposed to come out?
Persona 5?
Yeah. It's like Persona 5 was supposed. That's a good example of there being near as everyone can figure, there being no good goddamn reason for it to be delayed, because the game is done.
I heard it was localization, like further localization.
But like, it just seems like an inordinate amount of time for localization.
Sure.
For them to continuously delay it, even though the game is finished. And it was supposed to come out with this Valentine's Day tie-in. They were supposed to have all this DLC for it. And then at the 11th hour, they pulled the plug on that. It seems like bad planning.
Let's not say 11th hour. That delay was
you're right.
announced a while back. All right. Let's not be too hyperbolic.
You're right. I don't want to be hyperbolic. What I'm saying is that there's a different set of circumstances and outrages to be had over something that seems like bad planning, as opposed to something like Final Fantasy VII or Kingdom Hearts 3, which is a shit ton of work that you're not really sure what it is other than just development.
Right.
So that's my answer.
See, here's the thing. Here's where I am, Julio. I have waited for 5 years and more for Square Enix products. I'm used to it. I've waited for years for like the idea that something would be announced and that it would then be out within 6 months to a year is actually kind of weird in my mind, because I'm used to like, here's a trailer for the new Metal Gear game. See you in 3 years, because Hideo Kojima is a fucking perfectionist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm used to waiting. And actually, this is one of those times where back on Spill, we had this argument about, like, would you rather get something now or would you rather wait for, like, the real thing, right?
Yeah.
For the finished, 100% great product. And I was actually arguing on the side of, fuck it, put it out now. What are you waiting for, you assholes? Like, fuck your delays. But as time has gone on, I'm more about, I don't want early access. I don't want half-finished games. I don't want games that need to be patched and have a bunch of DLC to make it a complete game. I want a complete game, and I'm willing to wait as long as it's necessary for that game. Because otherwise, all you're going to end up with, because it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Like,
Right.
I think that what Julio is actually asking in his question, though, is, do you think Square should take their time and possibly create an amazing game, or do you think they should be less ambitious and focus on a realistic release window? I don't think Square is the kind of company that does that shit. That does, I mean, like, I Am Setsuna was a quick turnaround, but that was a different studio.
Yeah.
You know, Nier is coming out this year, but and that's actually been one where they announced it and then it hasn't been all that long to put it out. But that's Platinum, and Platinum knows how to turn a game. Square does this big, long. It's also the sort of thing where I can't fault a company that's making an 80-hour JRPG for taking a long time, because that's a lot of fucking game. That's a shitload of game to be handing me.
And we also have a problem of the audiences and the gamers not fully comprehending the amount of work and time and money that goes into making a game. I remember people saying there for a Kickstarter for a game that had $100,000 budget, which is fucking minuscule, and then somebody said, and then when the promo video or whatever came out, the first demo video came out, they were like, for $100,000, this should look like Skyrim, and it's like,
no.
There's a percentage of people out there who, I'm not saying Julio's like this. I am saying I'm not you, Julio. You were very measured in your question, but there are people out there who just don't understand, and I think that I mean. They're going to take whatever time they need to take if they know they can make a lot of money selling this game.
As with DLC, as with everything, if you want studios to hold back announcements until they have a realistic release window, the only way that you can make that happen is to be like, you know what? Kingdom Hearts 3 took too long. I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah, because otherwise there's no incentive for them not to take too long.
If you're going to give them if you're going to angrily give them your money, they don't give a fuck if you're
fucking
angry.
assholes. This took 10 years. Fucking here's my money.
Right.
And all they hear is, what's that? Money?
Money. Yeah. That's what they hear. So the only way for you to make a change in this industry is to not buy a thing.
Yeah.
If sales of Kingdom Hearts 3 are garbage and the gamer community comes out as a whole and is like, that's because you took 11 years. Fuck your game. We're all going to go play The Witcher 4 or whatever. We're going to go play the new Zelda game instead. Eat a big bag, right? Like, then that would be a lever to get a company's shit in line. But then Square Enix has a whole bunch of other problems, so let's not even get into that.
We're done with that.
All right, next one comes in from Adam. Adam says, salutations from Sweden, Jeff and Matt. I've been a fan of the site for a long time. I enjoyed it a great deal. Please keep up the good work. Continue to be a thing for as long as you can and want to. Hey, thanks, man.
Yeah, that's very nice of you.
Now you ask for more questions, and I obey.
Yeah.
This one's for you, Matt.
Me?
Because I've answered this question a lot of times.
Okay.
What crossovers would you like to see?
Oh, boy.
X versus Y, X meets Y, X and Y's universe, X and Y romantic comedy. No rules or need to consider the likelihood of them actually happening. Just share your dreams /thoughts/wishes with us. I, for one, will find it entertaining and interesting. Thanks for reading, and in general, Adam.
Oh, Adam.
Yep.
Oh, Adam.
Yep.
I'm going to try and not do the obvious ones. Crossovers.
Yeah.
Crossovers.
Yep.
Crossovers.
You don't have to vamp like that. I mean,
I'm just trying to think, because if you just explode the possibilities and my brain meets, then, I mean, God, I just remember when I was younger, just wanting like when is we're gonna have like Final Fantasy characters in a Smash Brothers game or something stupid like that.
Yep.
I don't know. See.
Wait, aren't there Final Fantasy characters in the Smash Brothers game?
I don't know anymore.
I thought they put Cloud into the latest one.
Did they?
I don't know. I don't play that game as much. So
Well, that's just it. I mean, we are in an age where crossovers aren't as unlikely anymore. I mean, shit, we Disney owns fucking goddamn everything. Nintendo was willing to put in.
Boom.
Is he in it?
Super Smash. Yep, he's in Super Smash Brothers 4.
Wow.
Yep, Cloud Strife.
So there you go. I mean, we're at a point where studios have recognized that there is money in swallowing their pride and doing crossovers. I mean, shit. Fuck, I'm going to say it. Kong and Godzilla are going to be in a shared cinematic universe, and this is after years of Universal and Toho fucking hating each other's guts. And the only way it happened is because they don't hate each other, but it's not been a great relationship. And the only way it's happened is because Warner Brothers is basically like, oh yeah, so long as we don't call him King Kong, Universal won't come after us. Well, it's more complicated than that, but I'm not going to get into it.
Good.
Shut up. Oh, crossover.
I have one. If
go ahead, please.
If you need
please.
time to think.
Yeah, I need a little bit of time.
I was watching. I watched John Wick 2 last week.
So this doesn't have to be video games. This is anything.
It was great. Well, no, this is going to be video games.
Oh, okay.
But here, I would really love a mod. I was actually, when I was watching it, I was like, I would fucking love a mod for the latest Hitman game that made the Hitman model into John Wick and then like gave him a little bit more health so that you could do like a shootout type of thing.
That's awesome.
Because the Hitman levels are so full of like guards and stuff that it would be great if you could kind of take the realistic structure they've got, because it's not like half that shit's all like European and crazy globetrotting anyway.
Yeah.
But have your fucking like bearded Keanu doing his little sideways like blah 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 blah.
So
and I also have been thinking about tweeting at Square or at IO and being like, hey, I know you guys are totally done with Hitman, but could you just put like a replay mode in there so that I can like take a replay and then like put different camera angles on it and like take all the HUD elements off, because I want to make my own little Hitman movies. I love that game. I love it.
That's fun. That's a fun idea. I like that.
Yeah.
I got one.
Okay.
So they recently made a comic about this. So I say, fuck it. For Injustice, make DLC.
Yeah.
They put out a comic of Power Rangers meets the Justice League. Fuck it. Have the Power Rangers be downloadable characters for Injustice 2. And fucking have fucking Tommy walk out and he's like fucking Dragon Zord, and then he morphs, and then one of his super moves is calling in the Dragon Zord, just stomp on Superman or fucking whatever.
What do you think about? I mean, there's going to be a Power Rangers movie. What do you think about Power Rangers versus Godzilla?
Well, I used to do that with my action figures when I was a kid.
Okay,
but
bang them together.
No, you don't do that. You'll chip the paint. You gotta. Anyway. No, I mean that is a crossover. Like it could be fun because Rita could like take control of Godzilla, mind control him or something, and then the Rangers would have to like break the mind control, then maybe find a way to convince Godzilla to work on their side or something.
Yeah,
that's how it all. That's how those kind of.
Oh, maybe he blows the little dragon dagger, and Godzilla's like, "What?
What's that?
Hey, I know that song.
Hey, this guy looks like me.
The Green Dragon. He's my cousin.
What's up? What's up, Green Ranger? Andrew Dice Clay Godzilla. That's
I don't
weird.
know why he's Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh man, that would be a good one. I'm sure we could talk all day about this shit.
Yeah.
But that's I want Power Rangers DLC for Injustice.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not
the John Wick for in Hitman. That's pretty good. I like that.
Well, the thing is, they put John Wick in Payday, but I'm like,
really?
I don't.
It's a little.
And so they have like a bunch of heists, and I'm like, I never got the impression from the movie that John Wick was robbing banks.
No, he's like
he's an assassin.
Yeah.
Right? So it kind of looks like. And they also put out a game that's a VR game for John Wick 2, where it's like a Vive game where you hold the things and you're just like blah 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 blah. But
yeah,
go. Nope.
No, sorry, I just thought of something.
Sure.
Okay, you know how there was that? We're back on Justice League. You know how there was that weird Batman storyline where he died, but then he actually went back in time, and he was like living through all the different ages.
Yes.
Assassin's Creed game, but with Batman and all these different ages.
Batman.
Yes,
that could work.
Just fuck it, square that circle.
That could work. All right, one last question. This one comes in from Manil he wrote it out phonetically. Arachige, Manil Arachige, who says, "Hello, Jeff and Matt. Quick and easy."
I'm sorry, it says sexy co-host du jour, Jeff.
I usually just put in.
I know, but I'm a sexy co-host.
Okay.
Am I not?
Okay, sexy co-host Matt.
Thank you.
Quick and easy. What trope, video game or otherwise, is generally considered good / critically acclaimed, but you personally dislike, and why? For me, this is for non-video games, is jazz samples in rap for conscience / message rap. Feels boring and kind of line shorthand for being smart, at least to me. Maybe I just think J. Cole is boring. I don't know. With love and supplication, Manil Arachige.
Arachige, that's a sexy name.
So what trope is generally considered good that you find a little irritating?
Video game or otherwise?
Video game or otherwise.
I don't know. A lot of the tropes that I'm kind of annoyed with are generally considered kind of lazy shorthand. Like amnesia is always a big one that I kind of lose. I mean, it works. I understand the function of it.
Sure.
Oh, that's a tough one. You don't have one, do you?
Oh, I got plenty.
Okay, go ahead, and I'll
lots.
think about someone.
The one that irritates me more than anything is the idea that because something is dark and violent, it is adult. Or more serious.
Yeah, that's a
Or
good one.
To be taken more seriously, because it's not. That's it. You know, go watch My Dinner with fucking Andre, right? Like, you know, a thing doesn't have to be dark and gritty, and everybody is a scumbag in order for it to be adult, right? It can just be adult and have bright colors and happy thoughts, right?
Sure.
So that's one of the things that really upsets me. As always, everybody knows that I'm not a fan of the idea that humanity at their core is a bunch of scumbags, because I just don't believe that. I know that in these days it's hard to sometimes to look and be like, no, humanity at its whole is a bunch of rapey scumbags. And I'm like,
yeah, as you do.
There may be some of that shit, and we may live in a time that's privileged enough for us to be able to explore that. But to me, humanity is an organism, like one organism that has literally conquered this fucking planet.
Right.
Nobody on this fucking rock can hold a candle to humanity. And you know how we did that? Because 3 of us are better than anything. Anything. Lions, tigers, bears, another one of us, right?
Yeah.
You put fucking a few humans together in the same place, we will take the environment and craft it so that it is comfortable in a bunch of rectangular boxes with sofas and couches and lattes.
Oh, I love it.
And like, we did that shit by working together because, quite frankly, it is more advantageous for us to work together than it is for us to work against each other. Societies that work together tend to flourish, and so this is my zombie problem of, like, if you work
Everything
together,
just breaks down.
Right? That nobody in the zombie world seems to be like, well, I'm a rapey murder person, but I understand that if I like keep my rapey murder in check, that I will live 8 times as long in a society.
I will rapey murder again.
As opposed to being like, oh shit, they turned their back, time for murder rape. Like, you know, like I met you 20 minutes ago, and the first thing you're going to do is try to skull fuck my produce, and then we're like, oh, okay.
Well, that's you know what's funny? I'll make a quick connection to that, and then I got one of my own. And Nick, dear Nick Hodges, made a recently released his Apollo 13 retrospective.
Okay.
On his channel, History Buffs.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he pointed out was how they kind of dramatized up the interaction of the crew on the stranded spaceship, hurtling through space, and they dramatized it up by having them yelling at each other and bickering with each other. When, if you compare that to the actual broadcasts of the guys on the ship talking to each other, everybody talking to each other, it's boring because it's a bunch of people being professionals and understanding they're in a crisis situation and that they need to act like adults and professionals. And you're right. It's one of those things where it's the reason why that stuff exists in movies and games and whatever is for the drama of it, because it makes it more engaging.
Yep.
My thing is with regards to language in video games.
Okay.
When
You don't like cursing. You watch your language, For Honor.
Clearly, that's what I have an issue with. No, it's with regards to when stuff is, and I brought this up with regards to Neo.
Okay.
And it's when you have a game from another country. It's usually Japan because that's where a lot of video games come from.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been, and one of the things that really impressed me with Neo was the fact that not everyone just spoke English.
Sure.
And they could have very easily done that. They could have just had everybody speak English.
Yeah.
Now, they found some workarounds for it. They had a character come in and magically make William be able to understand Japanese. But I've seen a lot of games where they'll have characters speak English, even though they're from a different country, speaking a different language.
Yeah.
They won't have an accent. They won't, and everybody will just be speaking the same language, and that always bothers me.
You talking about Gods of Egypt?
Oh, fuck me running. No, I didn't even see that shit.
Oh, it's so bad.
I'm more talking about games like, again, we talked about it in Neo, Onimusha 3.
Right.
Onimusha 3 bugged the crap out of me because the default language was just English, even though they were even in France at one point, everybody was just speaking French. Until Jean Reno, they ran out of money for Jean Reno to be speaking French, and they had somebody else voicing him. I don't even know if it was Jean Reno anymore. And they made a big deal out of Takeshi Kaneshiro, I think that's his name, being the guy who plays Samanosuke, except it was never him at any point in the game.
Yeah.
It was all just this English voice actor who didn't even have an accent, and it was just really obnoxious and weird that... Look, I know that's kind of outdated. It was an old thing for old voice acting and dubbing to do, was to affect a Japanese accent.
Right.
But at the same time, it's just weird to me when I'm supposed to be being immersed in this world and everyone's just speaking with anomalous English accents or American accents. I mean, it's like a fantasy game or something. It's a little easier to... And also people tend to complain when like a character from a fantasy world or a sci-fi world has, say, a Middle Eastern sounding accent or a Scottish sounding accent. There were certain Transformers that had British or Scottish accents or something, and everybody complains like, why does that Transformer have that accent? It's like...
Well, the entire Empire in Star Wars,
yeah,
we're all British.
Well, it's like, who the fuck? It's like, so what? They're aliens. Why don't you add a little color by having people speak different languages or have different accents? It's just, it always bugs me, and I think it's something that not enough people address when everybody just speaks the same anomalous American accent in a game, and it becomes kind of boring and tedious for me.
Fair enough.
I know that's a nebulous complaint, but that's all I got right now.
Hey, that's good enough for me. And with that, we're done, and we have a much longer. Oh man, we're 30 minutes over. So,
oh no!
Or no, actually, it's probably more like 15 minutes over.
Okay.
So before we leave, Matt, why don't you tell the folks at home where can they find you on the interwebs?
Oh, well, you can find me at pornhub.net/wait. You can find me at
You do you, buddy. I'm not judging.
You can find me at patreon.com/MattFrankArt.
Okay.
Got a little Patreon going. Looking to start expanding it pretty soon. This weekend, although this is probably going to go up Sunday. So right now, I'm at Pensacon in Pensacola.
Okay.
And I've got a couple other shows coming up. I've also, if you just Google Matt Frank and Godzilla, you'll find my stuff. You Google Kaiju Samurai or Spankzilla 85, you'll find my stuff. So, yep.
Okay, excellent. MailerHsite.com is the email address to send in your email. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And good night. Woo!